Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. All right, we're talking this week about thoughts and how they are, they're such boogers, aren't they? Thoughts really are boogers because they get into, we believe everything that they say. We feel like this is everything. And if we're not, going to be completely obedient to that thought, we're going to fall apart. We're going to fall apart. We're going to lose our minds. We're going to be out of sync with ourselves. And that's just simply not true. It's simply not true. Hey there, Juanita, Denise, glad you're here. Do you remember? Okay, I'm going to see how many people are as old as I am, but here it is. Do you remember this? And I know you can sing it in your head. My baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. My baloney has a second name. It's Mayer. Keep going. Anyone else? Do you remember that song? 49 years ago. 49 years ago is when that little ditty came out. My baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. My baloney has a second name. It's Mayer. Da 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 da. And if you ask me this, why I'll say, because Oscar Mayer has a way with Blongna. That's how I learned how to spell baloney, right? Actually, no. I was old enough. I already knew how to spell baloney. But everybody knew how to spell baloney after that. Everybody remembers that one, right? My baloney has a first and a second name. And here's how you spell all of the above. So 49 years ago. And still we remember the jingle. Still we remember the lyrics. Still. In the book, A Liberated Mind, Shane's going, pinkies up, I remember that. A Liberated Mind, Hayes recommends that we should name our brains. It's sort of like how Oscar Mayer has, it's sort of how my baloney got named, right? It's Oscar Mayer, right? We remember all of these things. Oh, Juanita was 6. I was in high school. I was junior high school. Susan said now she can't unhear that. Sorry. All day long. I'm guaranteed to keep you entertained. But I just want to talk to you. The thing that I want to bring into the point is not how Oscar Mayer and baloney and spelling of the names and all of that. It's just how we remember these things. And it's also not just how we remember those things 49 years ago, but it's also how when we name things, how the names stand apart. When we hear our name in a group setting, in a party, for example, and clear across the room, we have supersonic hearing. Suddenly we hear our name. It is a powerful thing. And we, understand this, are super connected to all parts of ourselves, right? Heart, mind, body, soul, what we think and all that rest of it. So separating out our thoughts from who we are, it's difficult. It's very difficult. It's all entrenched. It's all entrenched. And the thing that you need to know about with all of this is that there is something different about your name to your brain. So then how do we separate out our brains from our thoughts, especially when they're not serving us? This is a big deal. Now hear me out on this. You need to name your brain. I know it sounds crazy. And you know that I've named my amygdala Amy. And any Amy's out there, my apologies, but Amy and amygdala, the first 3 letters of amygdala are AMY. So Amy sounds like a really good name, but I do this. I've done this for a long time. And then I read in this book that this is what you want to do. And the reason being now it all snaps together is because it separates you from your thoughts. And then when those thoughts aren't serving you, you can just look at it like somebody else that you have been dealing with that hasn't exactly been, has been somebody annoying, right? You don't engage with them. That'd be like troll behavior, right? It isn't any of this stuff. It is all about, it's about being different than you. So my amygdala is different than me. And I tell Amy to pipe down and take a seat all the time because your amygdala is the fear center of your brain, doesn't want to do anything different, wants to stay the same, doesn't want the risk, wants to sit on the couch. And Jane says, mean girl Barbie. But this is exactly what this whole thing is about, is being able to separate them out, to take your thoughts and put them over here. And remember, we don't have to obey those thoughts. We don't even have to believe those thoughts, although that's usually what happens. And then over here, what we need to do is we need to over here say, that's Amy, or that's mean girl Barbie, or whoever it is that you want to name your brain, because we don't have to believe it. We don't have to obey it. And we certainly don't have to sit there and engage with it. Do you hear me on this one? This is pretty amazing. Stephen Hayes, the psychologist, with the PhD dude, is naming his brain. And this is just something that I did off the cuff because I was tired of being bossed around by Amy. Well, it's a psychological thing. And guess what it's going to do? Because it's something different, it's going to take you to a different place. You'll be able to separate out those thoughts. It's like you don't want to wash black socks with white fuzzy towels, right? No, because you don't want to be you'll put bleach on the towels, but you don't want to put them on black socks. Okay, are we clear? This hit me and landed on me like a grenade. Just blew my head right open, and it made it so much easier to just separate these two things out. Just separate them, not the laundry analogy, but just this notion of being able to name your brain and being able to understand that it's not necessarily true. It's not I don't have to believe it, and I certainly don't have to obey it. And secondarily, big time, I don't have to engage with it. Because I think about these thoughts that aren't true, the thoughts that come back to haunt me, the old garbage, like I explained to you when I was dealing with the pen in the washing machine yesterday, and I was telling you about how I'm so stupid, you're so stupid, Leanne, or you're so dumb, Leanne, or whatever it came out was so old that it startled me. But this is what helps us to differentiate from all of that and to separate it all out. And it just, wow, it's a big deal. So if this is something that you've really struggled with, try this. Because remember, your name carries power, and something you name also carries power. Pretty cool, right? So the other thing is, think about it this way. Whenever we're listening to someone else, think about this. Maybe you're at a dinner party and you just met someone, and they're all over the place talking about stuff, and you're going, uh-oh, red alert. This person's going to be, doing this all night in my ear. And it's also, they know they want to engage me and see where I stand on certain things. Have you noticed people do that? It's just, are you one of us? It's that kind of a probing conversation. I always totally hate those, because it's just like, gosh, can't we just be humans in a room and enjoy each other's company without finding out what side we're on? Because we lived in such a polarized culture these days. But when we look at someone, we can choose to agree with what they have to say, or we can choose to not agree with what they say, but we don't necessarily need to engage with them. So especially if we don't want the conflict, right? Especially if we don't want the conflict. What we've learned as we've gotten older is we don't go there. We don't argue our point to try to persuade somebody over to our side, nor do we want them to do that with us. We have the ability to just say, Cool. Let's keep the conversation to the weather. Let's talk about the weather, or, you know, taxes, or, anything but all the other stuff. But the whole point is we don't need to argue and have that conflict. And yet we do that in our heads. Think about how exhausting it is when you do the back and forth. Yes, I'll eat the chocolate. No, I won't. Yes, I will. Yep. No, I won't. Ooh, there it is. Maybe just an ounce. I don't know. Can I eat the whole thing? Can I eat just that? Or is it going to take me down the wrong road? Well, it always has, Leanne. I know, but I really want that chocolate. And they just sent it to me in the mail. This is a true story, by the way. There's chocolate right upstairs sitting on my kitchen counter that got sent to me. And I love these people dearly. And I'm going to say something like, don't you ever do that to me again. But, this whole conversation, then I made a decision not to engage, because I know what Amy wants. Amy wants the chocolate. Amy's all about the chocolate. Amy can see the chocolate sitting on the countertop right now. Can see it plainly. It is this organic dark chocolate with pistachios, by the way. It looks incredible. But we all know how Amy is about chocolate, and we know how Leanne is about chocolate, right? I made a decision about chocolate a long time ago because I don't have a whole lot of control when it comes to chocolate. So I had to make a decision about it. So this is just, don't get into that exhaustive loop. Separate yourself out of it and just pretend it's somebody who's trying to troll you. And you don't have to go there. You just excuse yourself from that conversation and go do something else. Think about this for a minute. This is the deal. We've got so much power, and we give it away to nonsensical things, stuff that we've already made decisions about, that we know about ourselves, thoughts that we know are not helpful, and yet we still engage with them. We don't have to. And when we understand that we can separate out our thoughts from who we are, then it's not like we're trying to give ourselves a lobotomy with a pencil, not at all. It's that we are saying thought stuff over here, especially you, amygdala, who's just living in absolute fear and doesn't want to do anything different. I'm in control of this. So Amy, take a seat and shut the heck up. Button your lip. We're done with you. So I like that, because it's just, think about it. Just like you were in a dinner party, you don't have to engage in that person. Go talk to someone else. Get away from the troll. But that's how this is all, by the way, how we have to handle our inner critic. Because our inner critic she's all over us like white on rice. She's there to make sure that nothing is different, that nothing changes, and that if you dare go outside of the box, she's going to slap you upside the head. She is. She's going to say, wait a minute. This isn't how this works. Until you take control, until you say, but Leanne's in control, Amy, take a seat. Things change then. Now everybody's got a place to go. It's like telling everybody to sit down in musical chairs. And instead of somebody not having a seat, everyone's got a seat. You see? It's just, to me, this is a night and day difference on how to manage and handle your thoughts. And if you remember yesterday's show, we talked how it's in relationship to your thoughts that matter, not the content necessarily of your thoughts. It's your relationship to them. In other words, you don't give your inner voice, a vote. You don't allow your inner voices to pipe up and say, oh, well, hold on, I don't like that because it's risky and it's new. And you say, oh, yeah, you're right. Let's go. Back upstairs we go. The chocolate's sitting there on the countertop. Absolutely not. We can't do that. We cannot do that. When we do that, you know what we do? We push ourselves out of the change that we want to make. We then say and default to the most primitive part of our brain. The most primitive, the prefrontal cortex. This is where the magic is. This is where all of your extraordinary human power is, right here. And the rest of our brains is for getting through and doing other things, sorting the laundry, breathing, remembering things, whatever. But this little baby right here, this is where the magic happens. And that's the part that we need to engage with. And the rest of it needs to just do its thing, but we can separate them out. I hope this is hitting you as hard as it did me, because my jaw was literally, yeah, because it makes such a difference. Instead of the struggle, it's just the cut is what it is. So we don't agree. We don't disagree. We don't fuss. We don't fight. We don't put down. We don't obey. We don't resist. We just remember that anything, any kind of engagement like that is a vote for Amy, for me, Amy, my amygdala. Anytime we do that, it's a vote for Amy. So if we don't do it, then Amy finally just shuts the heck up. We do something anyway. And then Amy goes, okay, I'm on your side. Here's some dopamine. Boom, just like that. Isn't that great? So just remember, Amy's my amygdala. You might want to name yours something else, or we're going to have a lot of Amy's in there going around. So Stephen Hayes also says in his book, this is a quote on how to speak to your amygdala after you do this. And he calls his George, I think. So I'm going to put it in my words. Thanks for the thought, Amy. Really, thank you. I get that you're trying to help. So thank you for that. But I've got it covered. You see what that is? It's not an acknowledgement really so much. It's not a let's disagree, let's go in it, let's have a back and forth. It's not engagement at all. It's a statement. And these statements, I've got this, is basically a shutdown. Like, shut it down, put a lid on it, I'm on this. And that helps you take back control of your scaredy cat amygdala, and it helps you to make the choices that you want to make instead of allowing your brain to run with it and knock down all of your dreams in its wake, because that's what happens. It takes it all with you, because at the exhausting end of this, have you ever had a person, oh, I have. Have you ever had a person in your life who was so exhausting, you finally just decided either to end that relationship, maybe it was maybe it was a boyfriend girlfriend thing, or just a friendship, and just the exhaustion level of dealing with that person was just absolutely too much. That's what this is. And your inner turmoil is created because there's no line between you and your amygdala. There's no line between you and your thoughts. So if we create that line, then we have taken back a tremendous amount of control. And from then on, we make steps going front, forward, and not as many back, because we've taken that control back from our amygdala. And if you're still struggling though with this, these are important divisions, by the way, really important divisions, but there's another way that you can maybe get in control of your thoughts. There's different methodologies. And in the book, he goes into the different depths of things. This is all done by research and of ways that this works. The other one that he said was to see yourself as 4 years old, 4 years old. Think about what you're like at 4 years old. I think my earliest memories maybe were a little bit earlier than that. I don't, at 3 or so, but I do remember being 4, and I remember thinking thoughts and putting things together and being able to conceptualize a little bit. And unfortunately, how it is, of course, the traumatic stuff that you remember, and from the 4-year-old point of view, of course. But that's the age when you're just starting to put stuff together and understand abstract thinking. So think about having ugly words with yourself. Think about if you are grown up, Lynn. Hi, Lynn, by the way. You're sitting there with 4-year-old Lynn, and 4-year-old Lynn is saying, I'm so stupid. I'm no good. I don't deserve anything good in this world. Eyes filled with tears, bottom lip quivering. And there's grown-up Lynn looking right down at this poor, sad, absolutely besotted little girl. That's her. That's her. Well, if you see this, what would you do? What would Lynn do? What would grown-up Lynn do? You would go in, you would sweep that little girl up, you would hold her tight, and you would tell her how good she is and how wonderful she is, and how that's just a rotten thought. It's a stupid thought. It's a thought, but it's not her. She's wonderful. She's amazing. And until you got that little girl back into being loving and caring and laughing again and thinking, oh, okay, I get it. I just had a thought that just wasn't purposeful. It's not who I am. It's just a thought. 4-year-olds can do that, you know, and so can big girls like us. But we comfort ourselves in times like this if we can think of ourselves as that little girl who's absolutely beside herself with grief over these thoughts. So I have to just remember, you know, we just have to go back to this and remember that our thoughts are always going to try to bring us to the place of comfort. And sometimes that comfort has nothing to do with what true comfort is. It has to do with just staying the same. And staying the same is not what you're trying to do. If you've got goals, if you've got dreams, we're not trying to stay the same. We're trying to grow and we're trying to become and we're trying to go to the next level because we're here on purpose and for purpose. And we're not, you know, we've been given talents. We're not supposed to bury them in the backyard. We're supposed to take them out and multiply them. That's what we're called to do. So remember a few things as you're looking back on this whole idea of thoughts and really getting a hold of them so that they serve you and stop holding you back. Remember this, that it's not the content of your thoughts, it's your relationship with them. They don't have to be believed. They don't have to be obeyed. And you don't have to take them seriously. They just are, right? And when you find a thought that serves, go with it. When you find a thought that doesn't serve, you tell Amy to take a seat. It's pretty simple. It takes some doing, but then we get to differentiate a little bit and start to draw the line and really make a clear path for what it is that we want and a way to get there without being held back by crying Amy. So name your brain, or specifically your amygdala, and when you separate yourself from your thoughts, it's not you that's that darned Amy again. Remember that. You're not, you know, it's sort of like, this is one of the things. Do I ever lose patience with the 4-year-old me? It was the 100th time we're trying to convince ourselves. It can feel frustrating. It is. But I think, you know, it's like 4-year-olds. Sometimes the first time's not good enough. We are like 4-year-olds. And while we can conceptualize, we lose our grip for a minute. We need to be reminded. And especially, let's also remember, too, that we've built these neural pathways for years. They are decades old. Decades old. And so when we have the recognition that something's not right and that, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I don't have to obey what my brain thinks, my thoughts think. I don't have to believe that they're even true. I don't have to take them seriously. That's liberating. But it's only one more thought. Now we have to take action on them. And that's what this whole thing is. And I believe when we name our brains, we can start that separation thing. And otherwise it's still all about us. And, you know, I think about this when we're thinking about this, I'm thinking about how when parents get divorced, you know, when parents get divorced, you hear the other parent putting down the other parent in front of the kids. That always destroys me because, you know, that kid's looking at them going, yeah, but half of me is dad, mom, you know? And so there's probably parts of me you don't like because I'm part dad. They're not saying that specifically, but that's really what's happening. And so for us to do this, we're actually quite literally divorcing. Well, not quite literally, you know, because sorry, all you English majors out there, but figuratively, we are divorcing ourselves from our thoughts so that we can separate them out and keep them. You know, these are good thoughts. These are not good thoughts. These are thoughts that I want. These are thoughts that aren't helpful. These are thoughts that I don't believe. These are believable thoughts. This is a belief that needs to change. This is what I'm changing it to. follow what I'm saying? When we do this, we get to see absolute change, and it's so much less exhausting. We feel energized by this instead of drained. And then the other thing is, comfort your 4-year-old self, even if it takes 100 times, even if it takes 1,000,000 times, 1,000 times, but comfort her. We know, we're all a little bruised, aren't we? A little damaged. Nobody came, you don't come this far and land without taking a little baggage with you, a little hurt, a little something, something. Nothing, and not everything you're proud of either. Maybe even some things that you're ashamed of. Cool. Now separate those things out and see how we can do with them. Comfort the 4-year-old that's really having a hard time with some of this, and let her know you are not your thoughts. You are not. That's just a thought you're having, but you're not that. Sort of like how we talked about disease. You are not cancer, but you have cancer. That's why I don't like I'm a survivor, a cancer survivor. It's marking you as a disease, a survivor. Forget about it. Forget survivor. How about thriver? I'm thriving. Cancer is a thing of the past, but I'm thriving now. Past. The identification needs to be with what you want, not what you had, not what it was, none of that. You want to have the things that you want, and that's the things that you want to identify with. The good stuff. The good stuff. I shared with you before that there was a woman in my Hashimoto's group that had a big butterfly tattooed on her wrist. And she put something like my Hashimoto's survivor, something like that. And I just was like, that's not cool. That's never going to get you what you want. So we need to do that. We need to be focused on the things that we want and those thoughts that support that. And don't forget yesterday's exercise. You can say something contrary to what you're actually doing. You know that. Remember walking in circles and saying, I'm not walking in circles? It proves that you are stronger than even your brain is, and that you can do hard things, and that you can do even painful things. You can do beyond what you think that you can do. So yeah, you can control your thoughts. What about that? On Wednesday, which is tomorrow, Wise Women's Wednesday, we're going to go even more nutty into this. What do you see the research that I drug in? I mean, you wouldn't even believe half the stuff. I've never seen it before, but we'll go there. We will go there. Peace be with you. I appreciate the fact that you show up. And my dog's outside barking. I need to go get him. He's been eating a bone out there. So I will definitely see you tomorrow for Wise Women's Wednesday. If you're part of the Rising Tide, don't forget, get there at 7 p.m. Eastern sharp. Bring your hot seats, fill out your hot seats, do the whole thing, whatever it is that you need to do. But just be ready. Take some notes. Be ready, because tonight, fire. All righty. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.